one fateful day, someone just dropped like a notification that, oh, in our organization, they are looking for a cybersecurity intern. I applied immediately. To an extent, I've been able to cover a lot of foundations and fundamentals of cybersecurity. Fortunately for me, I got an invitation for the interview. Hello cyber friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you've been following this series, I know that you would have been getting 1, 2 or more values, as an aspiring cybersecurity professional, and it's been a journey really, and I want you to actually follow diligently some of the strategies and the tips that I've been sharing so far, and I'm so confident to tell you that if you follow them diligently, you would see that navigating cybersecurity will become very easy for you. You won't feel overwhelmed, you won't feel confused, because the purpose of this series is to actually hold your hands and help you through the beginning phase of your journey to cybersecurity. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about my first cybersecurity role. It is very important for me to talk about it so that you will see that all that you see today didn't start this way. Like, I started from somewhere, and I'm going to be talking about that first role, what the first role was about, how I got that role, where the company was located. I will talk about the interview experience. That would be like my first major interview, right? I'm also going to be talking about the things I was doing and my learning curve throughout that period. And I want you to listen attentively, because this will really encourage you, and you'll be able to also see that if it is possible for me, it is also possible for you to be able to land a role like that. All right. My first cybersecurity role was with a company, a startup in the US, a cybersecurity startup in the US. So how I got the job, I joined a community called Blacks in Cybersecurity, located in the United States of America. And when I joined the community, I became very active, and I was committed to service within that cybersecurity community. And one fateful day, someone just dropped a notification that, oh, in our organization, they are looking for a cybersecurity intern. And the role is going to be cybersecurity analyst / educator. You see that? Very interesting, right? So I didn't hesitate. I applied immediately. So, and as at that time, it was still 2020, but towards late 2020. And to an extent, I've been able to cover a lot of foundations and fundamentals of cybersecurity, security concepts. I've been able to also lay my hands on different labs, different projects on cybersecurity, at least at the basics, right? So to an extent, I would say that I have adequate knowledge about the basics of cybersecurity, networking, operating system, network defense, cyber threat, risk management, and the rest of that. And most of the topics that I believe that in cybersecurity are very cogent as you're starting out, I've covered most of them, and so I applied. And fortunately for me, I got an invitation for the interview. And funny enough, the person that interviewed me was someone I've connected with within that community, and she joined them about 6 months from that time that I was interviewing with them. And she was the one who interviewed me first before the CEO interviewed me, right? So it was that first interview was vibes, and then she asked a lot of questions about networking basics, and a few questions about security basics like identity and access management, AA, authentication, authorization, and audit or accounting, whichever one you want to call it, right? So we discussed a lot about 3 ways handshake within networking. That was that first interview. So it was like a technical interview that tests my technical knowledge and my application of this knowledge, right, within cybersecurity. So after that, I got another email saying, oh, I'll be moving to the final stage. And at the final stage, I interfaced with the CEO, who actually took me through behavioral questions, soft skill questions, and I think the most important thing that got me through that stage was my ability to prove that I didn't only have the technical skills in cybersecurity, I also have some soft skills that will really, really add value to that role, right? Curiosity, my willingness to learn, my doggedness, ability to adapt, my articulation, communication skills, and then my interpersonal relationship skill, because of the kind of questions that she asked and the way I answered. So, and after that, I got an email that they would want to move forward with me. Now, that was the turning point, because the company is located in the United States, and I worked with a lot of white people then. That was a big deal for me, because while I started out, I actually made up my mind that as I'm starting out, I want to work with companies outside Nigeria. So, and when I got that, I was really happy, because that was the goal from the onset. All right. So what was I doing? Okay, you see, the role title was cybersecurity analyst / educator, right? So I wasn't really analyzing logs, like the normal thing that security analysts would do: analyze log, analyze phishing headers, and all of that. I wasn't doing that. So majority of things I was doing was to actually analyze vulnerabilities associated or risks associated with vulnerable communities or vulnerable organizations, non-government organizations like NGOs, right? And these are some of their clients, right? So I was analyzing risks, recommending solutions, security measures, and controls that these organizations can actually put in place to protect their data, protect themselves from being hacked or from breach, right? So that was the major thing I was doing. And in addition, I was also writing articles on security concepts, cybersecurity, relating to vulnerable institutions or public institutions like that. And all of those articles were being published. And that really helped me to earn my research skill, because I wrote a lot of articles for them there. And then I was also writing white papers that got actually published, right? These were the things, and it was a great learning curve for me, because I had to research a lot then for me to be able to identify what were the emerging threats that are associated with industries like that or sectors like that, and how can we protect those organizations from those threats. And then I learned about different tools that can be used, free open source tools that can be used to actually conduct scanning, internet-facing web application. And that really helped me to be able to have quite an experience. And I did that for about 1 year before I moved to my next role. So that was my first role in cybersecurity, and that gave me like a solid landing. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to know that if I can get that as somebody that was starting out then, you can also get yours if you put in the work and if you actually adopt some of the tips and strategies that I've been sharing over time. All right. So how do you get your first cybersecurity job? Number one is you need a CV that actually shows the work you have been doing over time, even though you don't have a job yet. You need a CV that outlines some of the projects you've worked on during the time you were learning. You need a CV that outlines some of the skills that you've been able to acquire during the time that you were learning, and some of the things you would love to bring to any organization that would want to have you. That's number one. Number two is you need to make yourself visible on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like a professional CV, like a professional platform that hosts your professional profile. So the way your CV is curated, you also want to create your LinkedIn to actually review more beyond your CV. So you have all of the things that is on your CV on your LinkedIn, but you also add more because LinkedIn gives you like more features to be able to actually add that. I will still talk about LinkedIn, but not in this series. There's another series where I'll be talking about LinkedIn and the rest of that. Look out for it. So as I'm saying, LinkedIn. Then number three is communities. I told you I got the first job from a community, in cybersecurity community, what do you want to call it? All right. So joining a community will really help you to connect with experts in the industry. It will help you to be able to mingle with people like yourself who are starting out and have access to resources that you do not have access to. You'll be able to interact with people who are ahead of you, people who are on the same pedestal with you, and then you'll be able to also have people who you can, have accountability with, like people that are within your pedestrian, but you can actually have them as study buddy, and then you make them your accountability partner. You help each other and the rest of that. That's what community is for, right? And then you have the opportunity to meet with professionals or leaders in cybersecurity that you might not have the opportunity to meet with, outside of communities like that. Also, another benefit is there are jobs that are being posted on such community groups that will not be made available public, right? So these are benefits that you can get from joining communities that will also help you to actually possibly land your first job. I hope you've been able to get value for your time in this episode. That's all about for now. That's all about my first cybersecurity job and how I was able to get in, and some tips for you to be able to adopt also, that I believe that will really help you to be able to break in or get in. All right. I'm going to see you in the next episode. Thank you.